My guest tonight is Michael Talbot, author of The Holographic Universe, a book that's taken the thinking circles in the fronts of reality by storm. Tell us a little bit about, first, Michael, about the holographic theory, and what are some of the basics about it?
Okay, well, as probably most everyone knows, a hologram is a three-dimensional image made with the aid of laser light. And the holographic theory is an idea that was created in tandem by two men, a Stanford neurophysiologist named Carl Pribram and a University of London physicist named David Bohm, who's a former protege of Einstein. And working independently, they both came up with evidence that suggests that the universe may be a hologram, more like a plastic image than a sort of sticks and stones solid thing, something that may be more changeable and perhaps even connected to the mind as opposed to separate from the mind. And specifically, Pribram discovered, for example, that the brain uses the same mathematics to decipher perception as are involved in the making of a hologram, a three-dimensional image made with the aid of laser light. And this is a very strange state of affairs because there are all kinds of different mathematical languages in Mother Nature. It's kind of as strange as if you found Eskimos speaking Spanish. It's like, why is this particular mathematical language involved in both processes? Working independently, as I said, David Bohm discovered, he's a quantum physicist, studies subatomic reality, that there are properties on the subatomic level of reality, the level where electrons, protons, and neutrons exist, that suggest that the fabric of physical reality resembles a hologram or is structured like a hologram. If you put these two notions together, that our brains seem programmed to decipher something holographic, and there are suggestions that reality is structured like a hologram, it suggests that maybe the universe is a kind of giant hologram, and not that it's made out of laser light, but that it has the properties of a hologram and may be more plastic than we've realized.
So we've got a model of how to understand nature, a holographic model. We've got even a model of how the brain seems to mathematically interpret what we see as reality. How does this apply, or what are some examples of applying the holographic model to better perceiving the world?
There are many, and that's really what got me excited in this book, is that there were so many areas, because the holographic universe, although it was originated really to explain these the problems that each Bohm and Pribram were facing in their respective fields, other people, when they heard the model, started to realize that it had applications in all kinds of different areas, from parapsychology and the study of psychic phenomena to healing, to acupuncture, to near-death experiences. Just an enormous range. Just to give an example, one of the implications of the holographic universe is based on a very unusual property of a hologram, that if you take a piece of photographic film that contains an encoded holographic image, that means you cannot see it with your naked eye. You have to shine a laser to it to reconstruct the image, and then you'll say it's an image of a rose. You get a three-dimensional image of a rose if you look through the glass or through the film, and you can see it on the other side. If you cut that film in half and shine a laser through each piece, you still get a whole image out of each piece. Cut it in 4, you get 4, 8, you get 8. And that's because every small portion of a hologram contains a whole. And some people have said, well, if the universe, and Bohm is one of these, the universe is a kind of hologram, means that literally every small portion of the universe contains the whole universe. Which is, William Blake said, find the universe in a grain of sand type thing. And that means that each one of us has the entire universe of information in our heads to be able to access. So when psychics access information that there seems to be no normal sensory means for them to get it, they may be tapping into the hologram of the entire universe. It's in their heads as it is in each of ours.
Right. Well, I know you speak of in your book, and I've heard you talk on different occasions about your own paranormal experiences, your own personal poltergeist, and how you've really done well at using that as an example of the holographic theory. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, that's why I got into this. I grew up in a family that was normal in most respects, very sort of mundane. My father's a blue-collar worker, my mother's a secretary. But we were always having these extraordinary experiences. The poltergeist is a German word, means noisy ghost. And I used to believe that it began when I was 5, because when I was 5 years old, gravel started raining down out of the sky on the roof of our house. Inexplicably, my father would go out sometimes with a gun. We lived in the country, and he'd shoot the gun up because he thought someone was hiding in the trees, but we could never find
gravel.
Shovelfuls of gravel. He'd have to go sweep it off. And we didn't know anything about the paranormal, and it wasn't until years later, and a lot of other phenomena had sort of accrued, that I discovered that was a sort of trait of poltergeist hauntings. There are stories going back to the 800s of gravel raining on roofs
so it's a common practice amongst
it's common practice. But this was just one of many, many experiences that really taught me reality is plastic. Probably one that's quite recent, I mean within the last several years, that I was very astonished by, involves a little jade Buddha that I own. My mother gave it to me. It's just a small thing. It's wrapped in gold. And I was going through a rough period in my life and basically was kind of in need of having a reassuring message from the universe that miracles are possible. Even though, part of me always believed we all have that doubting part too. And my mother visited with my sister. She saw the Buddha on my desk and she said, "Oh, I remember this." And she picked it up. And I was standing next to her, and as we both watched it, there was a little explosion of red light, and a sphere of red light expanded away from the Buddha. And this red stone appeared set in his forehead. And I haven't had it tested because I'm like kind of afraid to, but I don't know if it's a ruby or not. Yeah, but
okay.
My mother, who's never been real, she's kind of like a little bit like Mrs. Kravitz on Bewitched. She kind of ignores these things. She sort of giggled nervously. She said, "Gosh, I don't remember that stone being there." And I said, "But Mom, didn't you just see something really amazing?" And she said, "Well, I thought I saw a little sphere of red light burst and explode away, and then the stone appeared." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's what I saw." And she went, "Oh my gosh, is that what you saw?" And she said, "Well, your sister's seen this Buddha a million times. Let's call her in here." I said, "Okay, but don't tell her. Let's see if she notices the stone." My mom said, "Okay," and the moment my sister came in the door, my mother said, "Pam, the stone just appeared." And so it was kind of blown, but Pam also did not recognize or did not remember the stone being there. She said, "No, I just don't remember that stone being there." And that's just another example, but it certainly challenges our the picture of reality we were taught in high school science class. And that's why I got into exploring the holographic universe, because I want to understand these things.
Well, I'd like to see you get that gem tested. I mean,
but then I thought, what if I get it tested and it's just a fake? I mean, what does that mean? A miraculous appearance of a rhinestone. I don't want to know.
Cosmic giggle.
I'd rather be ignorant of that.
So these experiences have been happening to you all your life. So it must have been a great thrill for you to come across a holographic model or something that you could use to apply these experiences.
Yeah, it was very exciting because I'm sure this is a common experience of a lot of people, but after I learned that these things weren't normal, because at first they were just normal to me, but when I started to realize that groups of my peers got very silent if I started mentioning some of the things that had occurred, I felt rather isolated. I was pleased that they were happening. I always was so fascinated. They just riveted my attention, and I was only afraid a few times. I mean, some very scary things have happened to me, and sometimes people go, "Why didn't you run?" And sometimes I have been afraid, but I've never run because even when I'm afraid, I'm like so curious. I want to know what is that. And I'll tell you another experience. I had once what looked like a luminous soap bubble attacked me. And it doesn't sound very frightening, I know, but the situation was, I was playing piano in the living room of my New York apartment, and it was dark. I had the lights off, and I live on the ground floor in my apartment. The bench was situated so that my back was facing the window. And I'm playing away, and all of a sudden, it was like a flash bulb went off in my face. It went right here. And I was like temporarily blinded, and my first impulse, I don't know why, but I thought, oh my gosh, a semi has come off Central Park West and is driving through the windows of my apartment. So I literally throw myself over the piano, thinking I'm about to be killed, and then when I regain my footing, I look back, and there's no truck driving in the window, and for a moment I'm just kind of puzzled, and I turn back around, and behind me, hovering in the living room, is what looks like this luminous soap bubble about this big, a couple feet in diameter.
Luminous soap bubble.
And I really panicked. I mean, because I'd already gotten this adrenaline rush from thinking I'm about to die from a truck, and I was really on my way. I was just about to run out of the room, and then that curiosity took over, and I thought, no, I'll hate myself. I'll just hate myself if I don't stay and see what this thing is. And so I said to it, I said, I want you to know you just scared me to death. In fact, I think I put it in a little bit cruder terms, but
FCC.
And but I'm going to stay here because I want to know why you're here. And I instantly got this really negative feeling of ickiness from it, but it backed off. And so I knew that it wanted me to be afraid, and it did, but it didn't have any power because it wasn't standing up to me. And then it left.
Sounds like a scene from Ghostbusters.
I know, but
Okay, well, you've been doing a lot of touring lately, telling people about the holographic theory and going through these stories and actually doing workshops teaching people how to apply this new model. That I'd like to get into at another time, unless you've got some quick
I have some quick.
Maybe we can.
Well, not exercises, but more examples that I think, because although I'm interested in these things, I always do think, well, what's the point if they don't change your life in a positive way? And the holographic idea really says that, in a way, that what we feed out there with our thoughts is what comes back to us, what forms the hologram. So that has a slew of practical applications. Some of them aren't even paranormal. One of the things is that it sheds some light on perhaps why we have so much control over our body if we're that infinitely interconnected, holographically interconnected. And that brings in the placebo effect. There's a study of a new chemotherapeutic agent in England where they took a group of cancer patients, divided in half, gave one half placebo, a fake, and one half the real drug, but they didn't tell anyone who was receiving what. They told them all that it was a very toxic drug, may cause them to lose their hair, and 30% of the people just taking salt water lost their hair. And so think of if we're that susceptible to suggestion, we can lose shoot the hair out of our head at just that sentence. Think of all the things you say to yourself when you eat and drink, like, oh God, this has this poison in it, or and what are we have this infinite part of ourselves that is connected to this holographic thing, and that's just one area, but every aspect of thought and attitude you have about the world, really.
It's all your consciousness about it. It's probably how the Indians were able to elude lung cancer because of their relationship with tobacco, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Did the Indians elude?
Yeah, well,
that's
for
amazing.
the most part,
Well, I don't doubt it, because I talk about in the holographic universe how here everyone's touting how aspirin reduces heart attacks, and in England the studies don't show that. But the British doctors are so convinced by our studies that they go, well, we'll find it sooner or later. Probably they will if they have that belief.
Well, what right now is prevalent in your mind? I mean, you wrote the book a little while ago. It's a very hot topic now, but what is at the forefront of your...
Well, I'm working on one project about a very talented clairvoyant named Jim Gordon, writing a biography of him. I'm also working on a sequel to Holographic Universe that really will talk about the practical aspects. How can we bring this? That I love this sort of heady space-time information, but I also like to know that it has, as I said before, practical applications in my life. So that's another book.
Holographic Universe, The Revenge.
No, I won't call it that.
Speaking of which, you've done a lot of vampire novels?
No, not a lot. I've done one vampire novel.
Wow.
I know it seems like a curious subject for me to be into, but I got into it because of I'm interested in immortality. It gave me a fictional forum to sort of explore what immortality or living at least centuries would really do to consciousness. Because I was always disappointed by Dracula saying he's 500 years old and acting like a 40-year-old playboy. I thought 500 years of continuous human experience would really turn you into a strange creature, I think. Strange in that you would not be like a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, or even a 70-year-old. You'd be like a 500-year-old. And so that's why I wrote the vampire novel.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you normally write a fiction and a non-fiction and a fiction.
Right, crop rotation.
Crop rotation.
I'm unfortunately having to abandon my crop rotation technique at the moment just because the two books have presented themselves with such force in my imagination that I have to sort of write them first.
What technologies do you know of so far? I mean, there's been some work with holograms and things like that. What technologies do you think best facilitate the model, or really using this new? I'd imagine it's going to revolutionize.
If you want, I don't know if you would consider this a technology, but I think it's the field of psychology, and in my mind, psychology that has emphasis on spirituality. That recognizes that we have a spiritual aspect. I think you really you access these things through the inner universe, through the mind, and the area of human endeavor that's exploring ways to do that is the one that's going to take us into the holographic universe.